Canada. Scores of Indian students, mainly as we just said, from the Indian state of Punjab, have hit roads in Canada. What they're doing essentially is they're protesting against possible deportation over allegations of admission over fake offer letters. So essentially this is a larger racket that they claim had been spun originally by travel agents, but which they believe they are being unfairly now persecuted for. Now, as we told you already, the estimate is that around 700 students could possibly be deported if the Canadian authorities don't decide otherwise. We're going to bring you more context on this entire story. My colleague Siddhant with us this morning to bring us context. Siddhant, I believe the story stretches all the way back to when a number of these people were students. I believe now a number of them have actually got employment opportunities. Can you walk us back a few years? Tell us more about what happened here in India first. Then tell us about what the last few years in Canada have looked like for them and what this controversy is about.
Well, absolutely. And in fact, there was a person called Brajesh Mishra. He used to run consultancy firm in Punjab. And he perhaps issued, this is the accusation which has been made in the FIR, that he perhaps issued fake doctored certificate from universities in Canada to these students so that they can be sent to Canada. So this entire scam took place, if I'm not mistaken, between 2014 to 2017, or even slightly after that as well. And now, the government in Canada has taken decision to deport all these 700 students back to India. What is interesting, that the interesting part is that these students, those who went to Canada to pursue higher education, are not the students anymore. And now they are fearing being deported back to India. And this is perhaps the reason that Aam Aadmi Party government in Punjab has raised this issue, and perhaps their senior minister who handles the portfolio of foreign affairs in the state of Punjab, deals with immigration, has written to External Affairs Minister Jai Shankar requesting him to look into the matter, or perhaps request the Canadian authority to be soft on for these 700 students, or maybe to find out some solution that they shall not be deported back to India. Now, this particular letter has come after a protest which was perhaps organized by these student groups outside the important buildings in Canada. So there is already ongoing protest which is going on in Canada. And in fact, Canadian Border Security Agency, CBSA office, there was a protest which was planned by these groups. So, the FIR has already been lodged against Brajesh Mishra and his associates, the person who has duped these innocent students. But the larger question is that these students don't want to return back to India. Since they are well settled there now in Canada, they have their jobs, they are working. So the larger issue is of them getting deported, because government of Canada has decided, since they entered Canada, on the basis of a doctored paperwork that was done by a consultancy firm in Punjab. So they have to go back, because the government of Canada has to say that these 700 students did not enter Canada in a legal way, and that is perhaps has become a problem for all these 700 Indians there in Canada. Now we are still awaiting formal reply or perhaps a statement from Ministry of External Affairs. Okay. All we know right now is that the Punjab government has raised this issue. They have written to External Affairs Minister. And in fact, the minister in charge has also sought his appointment so that he can meet him in person and can explain him about this entire case, can explain him about the plight of these 700 students. It would be interesting to see what is going to be the stand of Ministry of External Affairs, right, and whether the government of India is going to pursue this matter with the government of Canada, or perhaps the High Commissioner Office in India will be informed about it. Okay. That would be Siddhant, really interesting.
Can I just ask you to stay with us? I want to play out for our audiences now what a leading politician in Canada had to say. Then Siddhant, will come back to you for more questions. First, take a look at this.
A group of shady consultants gave fake admission letters to mostly Punjabi students who came here in good faith to study and be part of the Canadian family. They came here, they followed the law, they studied, many of them completed their programs, and it was the incompetent Liberal government that had accepted the letters in the first place. Now this government is kicking them out of the country, sending them home to poverty and bankruptcy for their families. Why won't this government reverse its incompetence, show a little bit of common sense and compassion, and let those who came here in good faith and are contributing to our economy halt the deportation and allow them to apply for permanent residency?
Mr. Speaker.
Okay, Siddhant, with the Canadian politician we just heard from raised an important point that I now want to come to you and ask you more about. These are students who in many cases have been in Canada for more than 5 years. Who are the authorities that failed to realize their papers were not the correct papers, that their papers were in many cases doctored all of these last few years? Was there a failure on Indian authorities' parts, those that look at students that are leaving abroad, or was it more a failure of Canadian authorities that should have been checking these papers as students entered the country? Can you bring us more context?
Well, their own politicians, Canadian politicians, are only raising questions with regards to flaws in the Canadian immigration system. It is nowhere, there's nowhere a flaw of Indian immigration system. It is a flaw of Canadian system, point number one. Point number two, a lot of politicians, groups in Canada are supporting these students because they have to say that since these students are innocent, they have been duped. In fact, they are not the culprits, they are the victim. They were duped by one consultancy firm in Punjab. And since they have been living peacefully here in Canada, they have been contributing to the economy of Canada, they should be given exemption. So even some groups are demanding that as well. Now, it would really be interesting to see that what is going to be the decision of the government of Canada, whether they are going to take a U-turn, perhaps maybe under the pressure from the government of India, or the kind of campaign which is being run in favor of these 700 students. I mean, on social media platforms and various other places, the campaign is being run in favor of these students because, the story is very painful because most of them, when they reached Canada and they got to know that those letters were fake, the admission letters were fake, they were doctored. These students did apply in another universities on their own. So now they have already completed their education. They are well settled with their families in Canada. And every day, in fact, they had a long battle, justice battle. They fought in Canada also. But every day they have this fear that they will be sent back, or perhaps they'll be deported back to India because of a person called Brajesh Mishra,
Siddhant,
who offered them.
Can I just ask you to